Good evening. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. This is certainly an exciting moment for our community, and your presence here tonight validates that. Tonight's agenda is straightforward. We've got a great presentation prepared for you, and following the presentation, our design team and city staff and I will be in the lobby to answer your questions and discuss the plans with each of you. For over 20 years, the topic of aquatics has been on the minds of residents and on the agendas of public meetings in Wisconsin Rapids. Like many of you, I too remember some of those discussions. It gives you an appreciation for how lengthy and challenging planning public facilities can be. Further, it can be said that conditions must be right. The closure of the Mead swimming pool was also the first time in Wisconsin Rapids and the entire region that we were without an outdoor public swimming pool. And for many generations, that was a sad moment. Suffice to say, all those previous planning efforts were not for nothing. In fact, a very long iteration of efforts to get us here where we are today. Upon assuming the responsibilities as mayor, addressing the areas where Wisconsin Rapids isn't as competitive as other communities was a top priority. Among those areas, having top-notch recreational facilities are essential to being competitive for new businesses, residents, and families. We're confident that you will learn tonight what will not only set Wisconsin Rapids apart, it will play an important role in the lives of our residents and future residents for generations to come. Speaking of future residents, I'd like to invite Keaton and Nicole to the stage to talk about the role of the Mayor's Youth Council in developing the vision.
Hi everyone, I'm Keaton Daniela and I'm a junior here at Lincoln.
I'm Nicole Steinmetz and I'm a junior at Lincoln as well.
And before we get into a video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Mayor's Youth Council actually is. And we are a group of teenagers that get together and kind of form a leadership role and trying to get youth evolved and have the youth have more an important role.
So pertaining to the aquatics park, we wanted to get the thoughts and opinions of our peers. So we conducted a survey at Assumption High School and at Lincoln High School, and these are the results of that.
Hi, I'm Nicole Steinmetz and I'm part of the Mayor's Youth Council. As part of the Mayor's Youth Council, we provide a voice for the youth in our community. And today we're at the Mead Pool. With the current closing of the Mead Pool, the Mayor's Youth Council conducted a survey of the youth in our area on their idea of aquatics. The survey reached 515 students, ages ranging from 13 to 18, and 9th through 12th grade. Here are the results.
Hi, I'm Keaton Daniela, and the first question that we asked was, what would you think if we built a new pool in replace of the Mead pool? In the survey, 56% of the people said it was an excellent idea, and only 3% said it was a poor idea.
The second question we asked was, if we did build an indoor facility, would you and your friends use it? 42% said very likely, and only 5% said not likely at all.
The third question we asked was, if we built a new pool in a different location, how likely would you be to use it? 43% said very likely, and only 5% said not at all likely.
The current locations being discussed are the current Mead Pool and WITTER Field. We asked the students which one they would be most likely to use. 32% said current Mead Pool, 63% said WITTER Field, and 5% said other.
The final question we asked was, if we built a new pool, what kind of features would you like? And me personally, I'd like to see a diving board. Nicole, what would you like to see?
Probably concessions.
The features that we put in our survey were concessions, slides, competitive swim pool, zero depth entry, wave pool machine, diving boards, and picnic facilities. The top ones out of that was wave pool machine at 74%, diving board at 73%, and concessions at 73%. There you have it. That's the results of the aquatic survey done by the Mayor's Youth Council. The youth have spoken.
As a 2006 graduate here of Lincoln High School, suffice to say, my generation didn't get it done, but these students have told me and they've committed to be the generation to make this happen. So thank you for their efforts, and you'll see them here in a few minutes as part of the presentation later on. Putting users, in this case, the youth perspective in the forefront of city planning has been a critical change for us. And undoubtedly, there's a youth connection with aquatics. When the City Council decided last year to pursue a regional scale outdoor aquatics facility, design and architecture dollars were allocated to study the development of a splash park at Mead in the area of the former Mead swimming pool and a recreational facility at WITTER. We sought out experienced designers and ultimately selected the team of MSA Professional Services and Water Technology. Their competitive proposal, experience, and familiarity with the Wisconsin Rapids community gave us confidence in their ability to develop a master plan for Mead and for WITTER facilities. I'd like to invite the team up to the stage to share with us what we're all anxious to see.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's great to be here tonight. Can you hear me okay? Who? Hello? There we go. Thank you much. Well, like I said, it's great to be here tonight. My name is Carter Arndt. I'm a project architect with MSA Professional Services and also the aquatics team leader for the project. And I'm pleased to announce some other attendees here for the team.
My name is Sarah McDonald. I'm a landscape architect and urban planner, also with MSA Professional Services.
I'm Adam Pfister. I'm a project designer, or an aquatic designer for water technology.
I'm Scott Lamons, project manager for water technology.
And that's Scott Lamons. So just a little bit about the team that's represented here. In this day and age with community planning, MSA as a partner in this project along with water technology, what MSA, the company that I represent, brings to the table is experience with working with municipalities. So we specialize working with communities just like yours. And we definitely have seen a trend in recent years relative to park and recreation development. A lot of communities are really seizing on this to kind of tap into the trends that are out there that are energizing communities and making places better places to live, better places to draw people to the community. And accordingly, park and rec projects seem to be a lifestyle choice and also a major investment in communities that are trying to stay competitive and relevant in the realm of options that people have for communities to live in. We also specialize in park and rec along with our municipal experience. And then relative to water technology, our aquatics partner on this project, they're from right here in Beaver Dam. And though they're located so nearby, they're basically an international leader in aquatics. So we have the privilege to have them as part of the planning team for this. And even their involvement dates back to the last study that was done back in 2006, or yeah, 2006. Yeah, so they've been involved with the project for some time. Relative to what's going to make this project a success, you know, of course, what you have before you is a project that, when the pieces are assembled, if they're done well and they're done right, it's going to be a success for the community. The site over at WITTER was the selected site from a preliminary study to place the facility at. So with that site, basically, there's the existing WITTER stadium that's there, which everybody knows is a great asset to the community. And so the idea that we were put to task with is basically to develop a new regional aquatic center that would be on that site, along with the potential for a new park. So you make that more than just a ball complex and a aquatic center, also make it a park so it gets some more year-round traction and use, and then ultimately equaling a successful project for the community. The first steps of the planning process is the master plan of the site. We've gone through a series. We had a pretty intense last 3 months when we started working on the project, meeting with city staff. As a companion project to this, we worked on the development of the Mead Splash Park project as well. And ultimately, we went through a process of iterations of how to tap the most potential and make the most of the site that's before us and make it really work well to serve the community. One aspect of when we look at a project, we think of it like a designer. not only solving the programmatic elements of the site to make it function, make it serve its duty, we also think about aesthetic and feel and character and relative to what's uniquely Wisconsin Rapids. Basically some theming cues that we've kind of brainstormed and identified that are kind of repetitive, that'll show up throughout the design, are things that are unique to the community. The idea of your rich history and your natural significance and beauty. The timber industry that's flowed down the river for many years, the stone of the natural landscaping, a steel from the industry that is here today and has been here for a long time. The idea of mound, flow, and float, very much river themes that go along with tapping that river theme in the whole project. Relative to the existing site, Sarah and I will kind of talk about this jointly, but this before you, what you see is what you recognize here, obviously, and basically, ultimately, the existing WITTER complex, some existing activity fields, rec park and rec fields, a lot of flag football and other soccer events happen here. Existing track that used to serve the school, existing warming house, ice skating, skate park, and tennis courts. Right along your predominant thoroughfare on 8th Street, it's quite a visible site, really. Though when you drive past it now, it's kind of a background site. You don't even think much of it. You don't even look that way, just because of the arrangement of the site. But there's great opportunities there with tapping the exposure to 8th Street as well as the Chestnut flow through.
One of the things that I wanted to point out as regard to the existing conditions is just how segmented different aspects of each of these features are. They're kind of separated, tucked off to the side. They don't necessarily relate well to one another. And so as we discuss the master plan, you'll see how we've tried to incorporate the programmatic elements into a cohesive design that doesn't have these isolated features kind of spread throughout, and so there's a lot of overlap in terms of multi-use, which is one of the key themes moving forward.
And really the way this park functions now is it doesn't really function in a healthy way like a park would function normally. I mean, there are some activity fields which are great, but there isn't really a destination, a reason to come here beyond, you know, the amenities, which are nice, but the skate park, the tennis courts, and the playing fields, but there's no cohesive sense of a singular spot, a single park. It's more like an assembly of a bunch of pieces.
So our design process really begins with evaluating those existing conditions and what the site tells us, what elements we think need to stay, what elements can go, and then we start to capture what their constraints are of the site as well as what the opportunities of the site are. And so in talking with city officials, we got an idea of the different programmatic elements and basically the features that need to be included in the site. And there emerged 4 different very specific overarching themes, and that was making sure that whatever was designed made sense with the existing WITTER field, so there was some synergy between the uses of that space as well as the rest of the park and the aquatic center as well. And then creating a park, because right now, like we said, there's very compartmentalized, there's different spaces tucked everywhere, but how do we incorporate that into a cohesive design? Multi-season, multi-purpose use, so really expanding it well beyond those 3 months of the year where the aquatic center is active, right? How can we get people engaged in the park-like setting in other ways? And then the amenities, it all comes down to how do we attract people to this space to make it that multi-seasonal, multi-purpose destination. Some of these character images help convey the design intent of the different features that'll be on the site and really get people excited about what the space could be. And this includes things like attractive landscaping and best management practices as it relates to stormwater management. A ice skating loop, which is kind of a unique feature, some ice hockey, different play equipment that could be incorporated, and this could really be thematic, it could be nature-based, and we also want to make sure that it's accessible. How you arrive and the sense of arrival to the aquatic center is really important to get people excited and energized as they start to approach the aquatic center and then the park as a whole. We want to make sure that there are multi-use paths connecting all of these different features. We want to make sure that there's an ample variety of sports activities on site, so things like the tennis courts are pretty important to the design. Incorporating those thematic features that Carter talked about with the stone and the the timber into the entire design, not just the aquatic center. And then incorporating some nightlife into the mix. So if we have a splash pad that could extend the season well beyond the use of the aquatic center, and it could provide this really great and energizing space to host events in the evening hours when the pool is closed. From a master plan standpoint, this is the big picture about what we're talking about here. You'll see WITTER Field is still currently in its original location. We really haven't moved too many of these flag football or multi-use recreational fields, so those will still remain intact on site. As we go through the design in a little bit more detail, I'll go into each of these elements, but generally speaking, I wanted to point out that there's a parking lot primarily for residents and visitors of the site located on the southern portion of the site, and then the northern portion is really dedicated to service vehicles that are going to use the pump house, and then staff as well. So adding that additional parking for the use of the aquatics facility and park in general is primarily what those two lots are doing. You can kind of see up in the upper hand corner here that there's about 400 spaces. So there's ample parking considering regional context for the variety of uses that'll happen in the park.
From an overall site standpoint, you can kind of see the parts and the pieces that we're talking about here ultimately with the layout of a central park area that basically runs from the north to south end of the park. When in the planning process, we didn't want to like basically take a facility, put it in the center of the park, and basically be done with the conversation. We wanted to actually understand how we could make the park more integrated. So in doing so, we chose to take the water park itself, the aquatic center, and pull it over towards 8th Street. And do it in a sensitive way so it can relate to 8th Street, but can have some landscaping buffers to draw people to have an observation or view over it as they drive by, but then maintain this park connection and thoroughfare. And what that does is it allows for this park that also is a companion to WITTER as well. So when you're having large, say, ball games and things, all of a sudden you have all this kind of overflow outdoor space that could be used in all sorts of multiple ways, as well as this multi-purpose outdoor space that can be used for other seasonal events, whether it's art in the park or whether it's a winter festival or something like that, but you have this space that's multi-purpose. And then with that, you can see basically with the nature of a bathhouse, the support buildings and a park shelter, and then basically all framed, facing 8th Street. So.
We'll go from south to north and talk a little bit more detail about the different features that are on the site. So as you approach here off of Chestnut Street, you enter the parking lot into this drop-off area. And so buses could be queued here, kids could be dropped off in this area, and then parents can go park. One thing to note of this that's really exciting is the dual use as an ice hockey rink as well as the ice skating ribbon. So this central island here could be a respite that could have a Christmas tree and really kind of energize the space, and people can sit and enjoy after doing a loop or two in the ice skating rink, have a hot chocolate. So it's pretty cool to think about how that space might feel when you're in it. The entry both to the pool and the warming shelter is located right off of this drop-off area, something that's really important when thinking about circulation and pedestrian safety, certainly. You'll notice there's a variety of different trails connecting the different features of the site, creating some looping paths for those who are on their bike or those who are walking. So we do have some bike parking located right here centrally. Of course, here is the aquatic center to the north of that, and then we've earmarked some areas for stormwater management because of that increase in impervious surface.
So just thinking about this dynamic experience, say in the wintertime when you want to have some ice skating here, the idea is that this light gray area, this would basically be like sandbagged off ultimately, and they'd flood these areas. So you'd have this nice ice skating loop, and then you'd have more of an open, rectilinear recreational skating area, all kind of skating their way back to the entry point. And you can kind of see the theme playing its way out, this idea of flow and mound and just basically the organic geometry that's going into the park. It's really kind of a softening element to the kind of the rigid 8th Street kind of grid.
Now, as we move up north to this spine here, so this is really kind of a unique situation. So this fence here could be closed in PM hours when the pool is no longer being occupied, and this event deck patio could be rented out for different events, family reunions, corporate events, corporate parties, and then there could be free flow through here. This splash pad will have lights energizing the evening hours. There could be weddings hosted in this area. And then the splash pad, or in the playground, excuse me, we've found that there's a really important connection between splash pads and playgrounds for kids. They're oftentimes running in between both of them, especially if it's chilly, they're getting hot. They go back and cool off in the area. And then yet another potential rentable area with this shelter up here. So you can imagine having a birthday party and all of your family and friends and the kiddos are in the shelter, and then also accessing the pool. But then in the fall, when the pool isn't active, you know, there's still plenty of opportunity for other events, winter festivals and the like.
You know, one thing that's an added component to this rollout plan is the option of this park component. You'll see some of these lines are dashed in because actually the park component could be developed separately from the pool if needed. So the pool being, you know, off to the right, the pool complex, but then the park amenities could be added as a later phase if budget or city and community desires dictate.
And that's really the beauty of a master plan, is so you materialize the vision to build out, but then you incrementally move your way towards that as funding allows. As we move towards the northern portion of the site, you can see here, I think my thing stopped working, the north parking lot there with access for the shelter and service to that pump house. We do want to note that the cell tower that currently exists today will remain and is actually planned to be expanded, so we've accounted for that in the design. And some of the other associated features are the dumpster enclosures, because you have to get rid of the garbage. And so we've separated the one for WITTER Field and also the Aquatic Center to make sure that those have their respective areas. And then additional stormwater management all around. One thing I didn't point out is on this right side, potential monument side, and it would also act as an overlook area and create that visual interest from the road as people are walking or driving past that kind of peer into the Aquatic Center. And this tower here, which will be discussed in a little bit for the slide, kind of creates that vertical feature that really draws your attention and brings you into the park from the street.
And then relative to the tennis courts, currently there's 4 tennis courts on the site right now, but they're in bad condition. So they're slated for a replacement within 5 years or so anyhow. So there's a question of whether they might get replaced at this time, or they might be part of phase 2, the park improvements that come later. But either way, this is the idea is when they get replaced to go from 4 to 3. It fits on the site better. It doesn't run the courts right up to the edge of the road like they do now, and it just feels like more integration into the park space.
And then just kind of zooming back out to the big picture and the regional connectivity and how the site flows both with pedestrian and vehicular circulation, and that interconnection between all the existing amenities and site features. And you're going to see, like, as it has evolved, it really creates a unique regional destination and draw that's year-round and can invigorate the city.
Yeah. So Adam will share a little more.
Yes. So WaterTech has been asked to take the information that was given to us from the Mayor's Youth Council and the high school and create a regional facility that is going to be self-sustaining and exciting for the region to come and enjoy. By doing that, we're going to incorporate fitness in both aquatic aerobic, water walking, and non-competitive recreational lap swimming. There's also the opportunity for there to be lessons held at this facility, as well as just the pure recreation component that you're going to be seeing here in a second. And all of these components together will make this a vibrant, exciting aquatic experience. So this is the master plan of the aquatic facility. Some of the things to point out that were pointed out in the Youth Council video was we have a very large concession area with access from both the park and from the aquatic center. This design is unique for Wisconsin Rapids. It's unique in my experience for designing. I've been doing this for 12 years, in which we have given you both not 1, but 2 rivers normal lazy river with an action channel and a tot river, which we'll talk more about later. There is, as you can see, there's about 12,000 square feet of water and over twice that for deck, which provides ample deck seating. And then not only do we have the deck seating, we also have a lot of grass and berms that we'll be building in. This will provide overflow for people who don't want to sit on the deck to have a soft space. If anybody remembers the old institutional pool where everything was concrete, this will create a softer feel and be more inviting.
And just to kind of go over the layout of the pool, and after this, we'll go through each pool and go through each amenity that's in there. Again, we got a tot pool here with the river, a couple children's slides in this area, and again, you can see ample area for lounge chairs where parents can watch their kids and whatnot in that area. Then we go to the leisure pool. The leisure pool is a nice area for younger kids. We have the lazy river that's attached to it with a activity channel that we'll go into in a little bit later. We have a tube slide that will go into the plunge area, and then you can continue to go around through the river if you'd like, or you go back up on the slide. There's also a body flume slide here, and then we've got kind of sketched in there for a future is a 40-foot tall speed slide with runouts. And then we come over and we got the activity pool here, and we'll start going through the separate pools with all the accessories.
So before we get into that, one of the most important things that we've found in our experience for aquatic centers, outside of the water of course, is shade. The thing that makes a very successful facility is having ample shade for people to sit under. What we found is usually there's about a third of the patrons that are using this that are in the water and 2/3 on the deck. So when you're a mom or dad who are taking your kids to the pool and you don't want to be in the water with them, finding a place to sit under shade is always nice. The other thing about the shade structures is that is that they can be used for rental areas, which I'll talk about in a minute. As I talked about before with the turf areas, not only does it help soften the experience, but as you can see in these photos, they are quite often used as additional seating areas. People will go lay their towel down on the grass and stake their claim to that space. Again, we have ample deck. As I said in the earlier slide, that we have roughly twice the amount of concrete to water. That is nice for providing enough space for people to sit, stake their claim on a chair or something else, and then move on to the water. This goes back to what Sarah was saying about the rentable cabana, or we have some extra large shade structures that can be rented. We found that those are nice for birthday parties, family gatherings, and just a good place for, once again, people to stake their claim.
Yeah, and this is just an example of a concession area that's was talked about earlier. That's hugely wanted, and it's a huge asset to the water park. Place for hot dogs, snacks, and whatnot. And then we've also included a pretty large and shaded concession area that is also very, very desirable.
So we're moving on to the top pool here. And as we've discussed before, we have basically the active area of a top pool, more of a passive zone here, the slides, and the tot river. So some of the features, what makes this an active area is that you'll have geysers, rapids, and I'll get into slides to show that in a second. But these features, which right now are just placeholders, we can share features with the spray pad that is that's been designed and is going to be put in on Mead. And we can swap features back and forth between them as desired.
And another great attribute of this is the zero depth entry that faces west. And so basically you get this nice beach-like experience that the little kids can kind of toddle right in to the water with mom or dad with them.
So as Carter just discussed, the zero depth entry, it's one of the most popular places for young families to go. That pool has a zero depth entry. It goes to a maximum water depth of 2 feet, which is good for really young users. As I talked about before, for active and passive zones, this would be an active zone. And then, well, all of these mainly show active zones, but you can see that there are people just sitting in the water. And we do passive zones for young users. My son in particular really loves the passive zone because he doesn't want water spraying on top of him. So it's a great way for young users to get acclimated to water. So once again, we have geysers, which would be in this pool, wall sprays, deck sprays. These are some of the features that are possible. Right now, we are showing this cascade feature, which is a water table. This feature right here invites kids to work together to actually make the feature work. I mean, the feature will work by itself, but the more people that play together on it, the different experience they will have, and the better it will be. The children's slides, these are slides for probably 5 or 6 year old max, 2 year old to 6. They're shorter slides, 4 to 5 feet. One of the things that we've been discussing is building up a berm, as we showed in the previous photo, and then possibly using some of the stone that Carter talked about to wrap the back, just to make it more of an exciting visual from the backside as you're driving past. The Tot River is a 18-inch channel, which can have tubes in it. Again, this is another good way to get younger users acclimated to moving water. It's exciting, it's fun, and there's not as much, you have your parents there, so they're not worried about taking a kid into a 3-foot or 3.5-foot channel that's moving a lot faster. So this is slower moving, so the kids are in a little more safe environment.
And it definitely builds on the whole theme of the river theme that runs throughout.
Right. And then the activity pool. We have this pool would be more for the older children that are using it, the ones that want to be more active, or adults that want to come here and swim laps. It is a 25-yard pool, but it's only 3 lanes. So it's not designed for true competition. It's designed for recreational use. In the shallow water, we have basketball. This is an obstacle course that is able to be purchased later. We have the deep water. So this area down here is designed for diving and for a climbing wall. So you get your diving board.
Yeah, and the water depth in the pool varies from about 3'6" to about 11'6".
12'6".
12'6", yep.
So
you get your deep water. So it's just a good older kids pool.
yes.
And I guess there were some basketball hoops too.
Yeah, there are basketball hoops there. And so kids can do either, you can cordon it off and you can have a group over here playing basketball and a group over here playing basketball, or they could be doing a cross-court game. So the climbing wall. These are just a few options. This one is 17 feet tall. So
which probably won't be quite that tall.
Yeah, ours probably won't be that tall. What we're looking at right now in the design is 2 of these panels, 5 panels high, which still gets you 12.5 feet in the air. And the joy of this thing is someone swims up to this, climbs up, and then falls into the water. So it's physically challenging, it's a lot of fun. They also make these panels that are translucent, so if we don't like the opaque design, you can go translucent, you can watch them climbing up from the other side. They also do straight, or basically flat panels like this. So it all depends on the aesthetic we want to go with.
Yeah, and they are extremely safe. You know, some people look at that and think it looks like a dangerous activity. It's actually one of the safest activities in the water, because basically it's impossible for them to fall onto anything.
Yes.
So basically they just climb up and get as high as they can go, and they fall in the water, and then the next climber comes along.
So recreational lap swimming, as discussed, this is a 25-yard pool. Depending on how they want to use it, or how it wants to be open during the season, you can do recreational lap lanes in the morning, and then have the recreational use in the afternoon or late morning. This is the optional Wibbits course. So each one of these is a piece. There's about 60 of them to choose from. So we can customize this piece any way we want to. Basically, it's just a fun, challenging thing for people to use.
And it's a great amenity to basically be a future build-out amenity.
Right.
So you can wait, 5 years after you're open, you kind of then purchase such a thing to kind of maybe re-energize some usage of the pool.
And then the 1-meter diving board, as discussed, will have a depth of 12.5 feet. So we'll meet current FINA diving codes, and it's just going to be used for recreational diving. And then the water basketball. In the what we're showing on this pool is we'll have hoops that are like this, and basically they'll be across the pool from each other.
Yeah, believe it or not, basketball is extremely popular. The kids love it. You just see it used all day long.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, let's go into the leisure pool, which is here, and it is all one body of water with the lazy river. It does have accessible ramp coming in. It does have we have a water, in the next couple slides you'll see this water basketball pod. This allows the younger kids to be able to play basketball, because the older kids have the basketball hoop in the other pool. So the kids that get bullied off that pool can come over here and play basketball.
The nice thing about this basketball with the central post is, as kids are shooting at the goals, the nice thing is they're not going to throw it onto the deck, so they're not going to have to get out and go chase it, or they're not going to be throwing it at their parents by accident or someone passing by.
Or on purpose.
Oh, yeah, possible too.
And also,
I'm sorry.
Also incorporated is a nice bench here where parents can sit, or whomever, watch the kids everywhere they're playing there. We've also got a water walk area here. It's 4.5 feet of water. And we'll go to the next slides and we'll show you what those pieces look like.
Right, and some great connectivity to basically the lazy river, which you'll see about later. But the neat thing is the tubes that might be going around there could flow right into this body of water too, so you get this whole interactive experience that could go from a raft ride into the river into this pool. So it makes it an adventure.
And this is just an example of the type of bench that we're proposing there. What's nice too is this gutter system that we're putting in is a really flat gutter, and people can sit on that quite easily. It's pretty comfortable. You don't have a freeboard piece that's in your way. This is an example of the water walk. That's in 4.5 feet of water, where kids use the net on top to just guide them across to each piece from one side to the other. Here's the water basketball pod again we talked about. And yeah, this is just the overall plan. Again, this is the part of the leisure pool that's the lazy river. We've got one tube slide. Here's the tower. A tube slide comes down into the plunge area. And like Carter said, you can ride this around all day, go out here. You come down here, you kind of got to make up, here's an action channel. So when you get to here, you got to make up your mind if you want to get wet or not. If you start down this path, you get wet, unless you can paddle real hard to get back. So the action channel will have simulated, looks like water.
Simulated rapids.
Yeah, simulated rapids. It has these big jets coming from the floor, some deck sprays spraying over, some more rapid area in there, and there's a bunch of other things you could put in there for sprays to make that more exciting of a ride.
The other thing to talk about with the lazy river is this can be used for aquatic walking, water walking, which means you can walk assisted with the current, or you can walk against the current for more resisted walking. It is a really fun, popular activity. Our YMCA in our town has that, and it is used more for water walking than it is for floating by the senior members of, well, myself included, but of people that are using it as opposed to just using it for floating.
Yeah, and this river is a lot of times there's a 30-inch river, or this is 3.5 feet, and because of it, for water walking, because it hits you right in the right spot for resistance walking, and it's used a lot of times in the mornings by elderly or whatnot, when there's no people in there in the rest of the pool, where they could just go ahead and get some exercise. So that's an excellent use for that.
And just so you know, 20 laps equals a mile, so if you want to do it, all you need is 20 laps for your 1 mile walk.
Well, and it does accentuate an important point to talk about, and that's the programming, and that's just how you use the pool. How do you make the most of the pool? Basically, with strategic programming, you can basically have this pool serving, from 6 a.m. in the morning until 8:30 at night when it gets dark. And you do that strategically by having different sessions where maybe the general activity stops, but then you have other things going on, like a recreational swimming, the leisure laps, but also you can have people doing the water walking.
Yeah.
And so basically, from a programming standpoint, you have lessons in the morning, so you have early morning sort of fitness sort of things,
yes.
Mid-morning lessons, and then you break into the afternoon of activity, maybe even a break between 5 and 7 for more basically fitness sort of things, and then you open for the evening session. Right. So you can really energize the pool to serve a variety of users, so that everybody, so you're addressing the spectrum of age groups around the community, so everybody has an opportunity to use it and use the facility in a way that suits their needs.
Yeah, it's multi-generational. I mean, it's designed to be multi-generational. Just to go back, we do have a body slide also off that same tower that goes into a run out, which gives it a whole different experience. So you got some variety there. And again, as we talked before, this is a future speed slide. It's about 40 feet tall.
So the slide tower itself is about 21 feet or so?
About 21 feet for the main slide tower that's going to be base bid. The future slide is about 40 feet or so.
Yeah.
The other thing that this slide has that the others don't is a drop capsule on it to help you achieve maximum speed as you're going down. So you're standing there and the floor drops out from you, and it's a lot of fun. So you can imagine, who's using that. But it's a great energizing ride to have for those kids that are looking for it.
This is just an example of a tube slide that we're talking about that goes into the plunge pool, and you can take through the river.
You can use dual tubes or single inner tubes on it. So.
Yeah, and so how exciting would that be to go basically take your tube to the top, ride down to the bottom, and then find your way into the lazy river and do some laps. And then if you want to make that trip again, you run back to the top again and go.
This is an example of that body slide with the run out we were talking about. As you can see, it's not a plunge pool that you just, typical. There is a plunge pool for another slide, but you come down here and you just decelerate in this deceleration lane, get out and go back up if you want, or go to another part of the park.
Yeah, and it's a little faster experience than the tube ride. The tube ride, will be a little slower, just due to the nature of the design of it. But this will be a little faster, more exciting experience.
And you can really add color to the park with that fiberglass too. That really stands out. This is just another example of a similar lazy river. that we've done in the past. So it gives you just an idea of what we're trying to accomplish.
Lazy rivers are a great attribute to a pool like this. They're basically the way that you can kind of hang out in the park all day, but stay in the water, you know, be moving around, but if so chosen, you don't have to exert a lot of activity. You can just kind of relax.
This is an example of an action channel. As you can see, there's a plethora of features out there with sprays and whatnot that you can add to the action of the river. You can get, again, with those, with our rapids, we can get the effect of whitewater in the areas to make it more exciting.
So once again, we've got the overall image of the master plan. Just, we're hoping that what we've shown you is exciting for you, and we wanted to wrap it all together. Can I have that, please? The one thing I neglected to show earlier, which I wanted to wrap up now with, is some of these pods up here. We have access from the mechanical space over here. So if it was desired, you could turn these into rentable spaces, and they would have their own access to those for bringing party favors and whatnot in.
So you can see how the pools act as one once you get them all in this assembly, basically with ribbons of seating and shade, peripheral, reservable cabanas, shade structures. But then there's also some components that are part of the building that are the party kind of cabanas that you can reserve facing the pool. So you get this whole dynamic experience of come and spend the day. And just a little bit of a fly around to the site. Here you can kind of see everything in motion and kind of seeing the view from A Street kind of spinning around. This is a preliminary model we put together. We're not modeling the aquatics yet, but you can kind of see along A Street, there's the sign along A Street that's looking into the overall facility. You can kind of see a bathhouse and a pool equipment building and this monument along A Street. You kind of see the tennis courts off to the right there. In a moment, there we go. And kind of look over back to the bathhouse. There we go, there's the tennis courts. You can see kind of the cabana areas we've been talking about that are right here. The park shelter, that's kind of facing the playground area, splash pad. Buckle your seatbelts here so you don't get motion sickness. And then you can kind of see the bathhouse. The bathhouse has this great multi-purpose room we'll talk about a little bit in a moment, but it's this reservable room that's available year-round. Here's the lobby space for admissions, where you come and you enter. Also, it's the warming house in the wintertime. So that room will serve as the warming house for winter months. And then you get off to the end of the bathhouse, which has some of the locker and changing rooms. Use a lot of natural daylight, a lot of sustainable materials throughout to make an energy efficient and well daylit building. And then you kind of get out toward the pool deck, where there's going to be some lockers on the pool deck. There's some lockers in the locker room as well. They're expandable, so you can add some more if you need to. You see the entries into the locker room right over here. Entry that kind of is a side entrance that goes by some family changing, and it allows you to get out to the pool deck without going through the locker rooms. Here's the cabana area that opens up into that multi-purpose reservable party room that's on the inside. And then over to the snacks area, an important part. I heard how important food is, and we definitely are going to have food here. And it can serve the park, and it can serve the water park as well. Some restrooms that serve the park. And then we kind of spin back around. And I guess one little peek looking over at the reservable shelter and the cabanas, the party cabanas. And just a quick glance at the plan. Here's the reservable shelter that's out in the park area. Here's the pool equipment building. and the reservable cabanas that are part of it. So you kind of take what has to be there for function, but you put some cabanas on the side, and all of a sudden it becomes basically a pool house instead of an equipment building, and it energizes and becomes the peripheral of the pool. Something that draws you through the facility. And then the bathhouse itself, which you saw this kind of in the fly-around model, using materials that are trying to emulate stone and some metal and wood, and bringing all those characteristics of the theme into the building. Somewhat of a contemporary or modern expression, but one that's transitional with the use of materials that are with the wood and the stone. And then here's an overall plan of that building that kind of, as you maybe saw from the outside, you're starting to get a sense of what it is. But basically, there's a central lobby space, admissions, where you come in here and then you walk in. Either you head off to the men's or the ladies' locker rooms, ladies in green, men's in blue, or there's some family changing rooms. As well as another route out to the pool deck, so you don't have to go through the gender-specific locker rooms to get out to the pool deck. You can get out to the pool deck basically that way. And then basically the westerly wing has all the lifeguard staff area with great observation. And then that tan area is that multi-purpose room. And now that's a really neat component. It's basically a room that is subdividable, so that it can be used by a couple separate groups. Has a little prep kitchen in it, which is nothing more than counter space and a sink and a refrigerator. But that's usable year-round, and even while the pool's in operation, you could rent that room and use it with access to the outside, which is a neat feature. Some park restrooms that serve the park, and that multi-purpose room, and then that in purple is the concessions. So cost. What does it all cost? An important part of the conversation, obviously, is budget and impact to the community. And so based on the vision that's been laid out and then developed to make the project just a beautiful success for the community, comes with it a price tag. So basically, it broken into two pieces, what you've seen tonight here. The Regional Aquatic Center, which is basically the parking lots, all the site development around the buildings, less the shelter, park shelter, because that's in the next number, and then the aquatics and equipment. It's a $10 to $11 million project. So that's the way it's master planned right now. Obviously, we're at a stage in the process. Keep in mind that we did initial planning and we did some schematic development of everything, and we got to the point of getting to this where we're at tonight. And there's further decisions to be made, so this isn't set in stone that it's going to go this way, but this is the vision for what some of the city leadership is thinking is the right way to go for the project. And then relative to the park area itself, that could be a separate phase. That includes the park shelter, a really great accessible playground with a great accessible cushioned surfacing underneath it. The lighted geyser park, which is optional, of course, but it's a splash pad, but it allows a free access to some aquatics for the community. And then new tennis courts, that's about $1 million component. So all totaled, you can see it ranges from basically a $10 million to a $12 million, all things included. So relative to what's next? Well, right now, obviously, a major goal is to gain your feedback. And a lot of the mayor's going to share more about ways that you can engage the dialogue on these topics, but that's why we're here tonight and what we're looking for. Funding considerations, obviously that's a lot of money. So it's an important investment for the community, and it's going to take important consideration in the long-term good of the community. So whether that's funding from the municipality, from fundraising donors, or from other project partners, we're looking for all the potential that might come from that, and there's optimistically hoping that there are some. So after that step in the process, once you confirm viability, we basically, and the funding is finalized, then we can finalize the project scope and kind of go into the engineering architectural aspect of the project and actually design everything, get it ready for bidding to get some numbers back, and construction. So that's what it looks like, and the process could be such that basically next summer you actually you have a new aquatic facility midsummer, but that's only one schedule scenario. Relative to the funding consideration, with that idea in mind of the opportunity to try to be open by next summer, There's a fundraising consideration process of about 6 weeks. And then at that point in time, kind of some decisions will be made about where to go from there, whether to pause or whether to charge, I suppose you could say, or to regroup. But relative to after things are finalized, about 7 weeks later, basically the design team comes together and finishes up the design and puts it out to bid. And by September 1st, you basically be starting some construction, or the bid opening September 1st, construction late September. So that's how fast it could proceed. With that in mind, 2 potential schedules. The one that kind of comes out of the process I just described would be that it opens, and it really, 2018 opening, thank you. As far as it gets completed and it's open next summer in July, there's always knowing that that's a somewhat aggressive schedule and a lot of things have to come in alignment to make that happen. We also couldn't help but be talking about the potential for opening 1 year later. So actually building it all next summer and opening it the following year may be a potential as well.
All right. Let's give it up for the team. You guys can have a seat. Throughout the number of months, we've gotten to work really closely with these folks and really spent a lot of time together, I would say weekly, some days all day throughout the week to, on a given day, to get to the designs. And we all have a whole new appreciation for what goes into building and designing an aquatic center such as this. But also to make it uniquely Wisconsin Rapids. And we really set out with a number of objectives. One of the things that was hit on tonight in the design is certainly something that works for all ages, right? Not just our youngest adults, our youngest members of the community, but even our most senior members. And that truly is a public facility. The second is access. You're looking at a very beautiful facility, a very large investment, of course, and we want to make sure that it's affordable. And so knowing that we have a benchmark of what the pool passes, let's say, were at Meade facility, we really want to achieve an affordable community facility that works and accessible to all of our residents. So we intend very much to maintain the scholarshiping program for those that qualify for such a service and such a fee structure. But we also want to make sure that those of us that pay property taxes in this community also can afford to build and construct such a facility. So you see up on the screen, we've got about a $5.5 million commitment that the City Council had made last year when they chose to pursue a regional path. The question you might be asking yourselves, when the facility is operational and the city's borrowed the $5.5 million to make it happen, what will the cost be on an average home or to an average homeowner in the city or property owner? So if you own a $100,000 home or own $100,000 worth of property, it's about $36 annually that the cost translates into a net increase in your taxes. The second piece that I want to mention is municipal commitment. If many of you that have been a part of the discussions over the last number of decades have learned the challenges of having discussions when you try to pull municipal resources together across political boundaries. We're not heading into this discussion expecting any of that. It certainly would be nice for the non-residents in the room to afford themselves the benefits that city residents would have, to be able to have the affordability and the access that city residents will have through their investment in their tax commitment. So we will be accepting donations from other municipalities. So I encourage you, if you're not from or if you're not a resident of Wisconsin Rapids, to speak to your leadership in your municipality on how you might be able to participate and have access to a facility on a resident basis. And then finally, one of the ways that we've talked about, city contribution in the budget, that in the opinion of probable cost that was just shared to you in a $10 to $11 million scale, that only gets us halfway there. And so it's really going to require a full hands-on deck approach by all of our residents and all of us that call this place home. So I want to invite the Mayor's Youth Council back up to the stage. They're going to talk about a way that they're going to play a role in this and hopefully to invigorate and inspire other members of the community to play a role in the fundraising efforts. All right, come on up. They've got some floaties and some noodles. I didn't expect them to show up in full garb tonight, but they're ready. There you go.
All right, my name is Jorian Greenwood, and I'm a student at Lincoln High School. My name is Ryan Swanson, and I'm also a student at Lincoln High School.
My name is Ashley Bone, and I'm a student at Assumption High School. Okay, so we're going to talk to you a little bit more about fundraising. The Mayor's Youth Council has committed to raising $250,000 left of the $5 million to raise, and we are planning on fundraising through collections at community events and ball games. And we are going to sell Wisconsin Rapids water. We've also thrown around other ideas of having advocates such as Vince Beagle, dunking the mayor, selling towels, and collaborating with the swim teams to have a swim-a-thon.
So we are actually ready to kick off our fundraising efforts tonight. So if you look out in the audience, you're going to start seeing some Mayor's Youth Council members walking around with pails, because we are going to do what is called a Mad Minute. So we are going to put 60 seconds. I have a timer. I have a timer right here, and I'm going to time us for 1 minute, and I'm going to see how much money we can try and raise in just 60 seconds. Okay, so if you're a Mayor's Youth Council member, raise your hand. So they're out there. They're out there going. Okay, and I just wanted to have this time to say every little bit really does count. If 500 people donated $1, then that would already be $500 of our goal. Okay, we're like 5 seconds in, 10 seconds in. I just also wanted to say, when I was in 5th grade, I remember my teacher at Woodside Elementary School, Mr. Sigourney, told me that they were planning to build a water park one time in Rapids, and they never opened it. And I remember my entire 5th grade class was devastated that we did not get a water park. We were like, that would have been really cool. We want a water park. So I'm glad to say that I'm here now advocating for my aquatic center that I wanted when I was 11 years old. We're about halfway through, guys. Thank you for all your donations. Okay, we're gonna start counting it down pretty soon here. Okay, I'm stalling. Can you tell? Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Come up front.
Just kidding.
Okay. We got some of our design team is giving back.
Okay, so I was really amazing to see how many of you were willing and able to donate to us right here and now in 60 seconds. So I'm really excited to see what we can come up with in the next 6 weeks when we're trying to reach our pretty ambitious goal. I'm gonna turn it over to Ashley.
There are also a few other ways that you can donate. You can donate tonight by texting WR Aquatics to 797979. Also on your way out, you can grab a donation form. And if you're a prospective donor, you can contact the City Hall for any of your questions. We would like to thank you for your time and for supporting the Mayor's Youth Council.
Let's give them another round of applause. Well done, well done. Thank you. Let's see here. So not only are these today's youth, they're obviously tomorrow's leaders, and it's impressive to see their ambition to realize this facility and make this reality. But I often think about, as they go off and to do amazing things in their lives, we want to ensure that when they're ready, that they look for a place to settle down, that they consider their home in Wisconsin Rapids as a place to come back to. And it goes without saying that a facility of this scale and this magnitude will go a long way in helping us achieve that goal of attracting and retaining young adults and young families in this community. It's also been said by Carter and the team that in order to achieve a 2018 opening, we have just 6 weeks to secure our pledges and donations. And given the about $5 million fundraising gap that we have, there's obviously goes without saying, there are a number of variables in that. And they include a slower pledge pace and any potential scope changes. Because we're at a point in the design process, the scope of the facility could change. We may decide to change the scope and pare it back. We may decide as well to prolong our fundraising efforts and to hold off construction for a period of time as well. So I want to refocus on those two pieces. So over the next six weeks, you'll see a number of efforts throughout the community. I hope that you get inspired to find a way to get our community to dig deep and to truly make this a reality this time around. So as the members of the Mayor's Youth Council said, you can make a contribution online. You can also go to aquatics.wirapids.org, the city's website, to get the full designs after tonight's presentation. And then you can also make contributions and share the form, et cetera, to friends and family. So we hope you stay connected throughout the project. And in closing, I want to make a couple comments that I think will send us out of here with some excitement in the sense of having been armed now with the designs and the presentation here. It's often said that thriving places truly help define a community's economic vitality. From our downtown riverfront to our bike trails to our zoo, they all contribute to a strong quality of life, help attract and retain talent, and grow a stronger local economy. Just like the vision that produced community attractions like this facility that we're in here tonight, this beautiful performing arts center nearly 20 years ago already, since the community rallied to make this facility a reality. And down the street from another community asset, the hockey rink, which was another great community asset, we dug deep and made it happen. Similarly, and in many ways, the Aquatic Center will be a destination for residents, future residents, and visitors well beyond and far beyond our boundaries for decades to come. It's time. Let's get it done. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to speaking with you in the future.